will be double-digit, double-decker multiplication with decimals. This is our final step with multiplication, and we will be learning how to use decimals with our multiplication. Let's first do a little review about multiplying. If we have 25 multiplied by 56, we're going to first line up our numbers. So we're going to have 25 on top and our 56 on the bottom. Okay. Now, as we know, we must always work from the left to the right. So we start always at our 6. Okay? So the 6, we have to first go up to the 5, and then it goes up to the 2. The bottom number has to go up and be multiplied by all the top numbers. So 6 times 5 is 30. Put our 0 down here. Don't forget to carry. We can put a 3 up here. And we're good. Okay, so now we're done with 5 times 6, and we're going to do 6 times 2 plus 3. When we have a little carried number, we always add it. So 6 times 2 plus 3. 6 times 2 is 12 plus 3, 12, 13, 14, 15. Now since I have nowhere else to go, I can't carry, I'm going to put the whole 15 down below. Okay. Now remember, I'm finished in this row. This column. I'm finished here. So when working on my second number, I must add a 0 as a placeholder in the first column. So I'm finished here. I'm moving on to my 5. I have to place a 0 right here before I can move on. Now I'm ready to move on to the 5. Now 5, again, just like the 6, is going to visit all the numbers on the top. So I'm going to do my 5 times 5 and do my 5 times 2. Remember this 3, we're not using it anymore. It's from the 6. So we're going to do 5 times 5 and 5 times 2. 5 times 5 is 25. I'm going to put my 5 down below. And I'm going to have a new number to carry, which is the 2 for my 25. And make that a little. Okay. So I did my 5 times 5. Now I have to do 5 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10, plus the 2 that I carried is 12. So now I'm going to put a 1 and a 2. Okay, remember we're moved over another column, so we placed our 0 right here. It's important to make sure you line up your numbers so you get the correct answer. Okay, we're finished with our multiplication, and now we've moved on to the addition. Okay, we're finished with this area, and we're now just concentrating on this lower area to get our final answer. So 0 plus 0 is 0, 5 plus 5 is 10. Make sure we carry in both our addition and our multiplication. So 5 plus 5 is 10. I carry my 1. 2 plus 1 is 3, plus another 1 is 4. And then 1 plus 0 is 0. Is 1. Excuse me. Okay, so my answer is then 1,400. Now, that's what we already know. Now, we're going to take the same problem, except we're going to add a decimal. Instead of having 25 times 5.6 times 56, I'm going to have 25 times 5.6. So, I'm going to show you how it's done. It's very similar to before. So I'm going to put my 25 on top, 2, and now my 5.6. When I'm working with decimals, I do not need to line up my decimal point. I only still need to worry about lining up my numbers. So I'm still going to put my 5 and my 6 just like before, and my decimal point is going to go right here. Okay, I'm not worried about lining up the decimal point. I'm worried about lining up my numbers. Okay, and we'll see some more examples of how this works. From here, I just simply multiply like I did in the previous problem. 6 times 5 is 30. Okay. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 3 is 15. Let's put my 5 and my 1, just like before. I'm finished in this column. I put my 0, just like before. Okay, now I have 5 times 5, which I know is 25. 25 from before. So I put my 5 down. I carry my little 2. Okay, and then I have 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 more is 12, just like before. Okay, I do my addition just like before. 0, 10, carry my 1, 2 plus 1 is 3, plus another is 4, and 1 plus 0 is 1. Okay, now here's where the new step comes in. I still have to place my decimal point. Well, where does it go? I can't just simply bring it straight down like in addition subtraction. I cannot do that. I have to follow a new step. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my numbers. I have 25 and 5.6. And I'm going to see how many numbers I have in decimal places. So in my 25, I have no decimal point. I have nothing behind a decimal. In 5.6, I have one number behind a decimal point. I'm going to circle that number. Okay. Since I have one number behind my decimal in my problem, that's how many times I'm going to move my decimal point in my answer. So right now, my decimal point is right here. Because I have one decimal place in my problem, I'm going to move my decimal point in my answer over one time to the left. So it's going to be right here. And there we go. Now I have my answer. My answer is 140. Okay? So I have one place in the decimals. I move my decimal point one time. It goes right here. I get 140, which is very different than 1,400. So let's take a look at another example to see how that works again. So now I have 2.3 times 5.9. Okay, I'm going to line up my numbers just like I do every time I multiply. So I'm going to have 2 decimal point doesn't always have to go on the line, it just happens to now. 2.3 and 5 point 9. Okay, in this problem, my decimal points just happen to line up. That's not what has to happen though. It has to be the numbers that are lined up. Okay? Not worried about the decimal point, worried about the numbers. The 3's on top of the 9, the 2's on top of the 5. Perfect. Now we can multiply. So we start with our 9. 9 has to go to both the 3 and the 2. So 9 times 3 is 9 times 3 is 27. I'm going to put my 7 down and my 2 up. Carry it. Okay. And then I'm going to do my 9 times 2. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 2 is 20. So since I have nowhere else to carry, I'm going to put my whole 20 down below. All right. Now I'm done with this column, which means I must insert my 0 right here in my next row before I move on. Now, I'm moving on to the 5. I'm going to do 5 times 3, and then I'm going to do 5 times 2. 5 times 3 is 15, so I'm going to put my 5 down below, and my 1 up above. Okay. Now I'm going to do 5 times 2, which is 10, plus the 1 that I carried. So 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. So I'm going to put my whole 11 over here. All right. So we're finished with our multiplication. And now we've moved on to our addition. So we have 7 plus 0, which is 7. We have 5 plus 0, which is 5. We have 2 plus 1, 3. And 1 plus 0, which is 1. All right, we are not finished. We have not placed our decimal in our answer yet. Okay, so we're not finished. We must count how many decimal places we have in our problem. Okay, so both of our numbers have decimal points. 2.3, that has one number behind the decimal point. 5.9, that has one place behind the decimal point. So we have overall 2 places behind the decimal point in our problem. 1, 2. That means I'm going to move my decimal point 2 places to the left. So it starts here, and I'm going to move it 2 places. 1, 2. I'm going to put my decimal point right here. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 1, 2. So now I've placed my decimal point. It permanently stays right here, and my answer becomes 13.57.